A man misunderstands flight attendants' directions and feels entitled to a free premium seat because they won't apologize for lying to him. This happened last night, and it was one of the most satisfying encounters I've ever had with someone with a downright comical sense of entitlement. I took a flight from San Francisco to Boston that was in the afternoon after a full day of work.
I have a $200 airline credit to use on just this one flight before I lose it at the end of the year, so I was debating between trying to drink through $200 of free booze over the 6-hour flight vs upgrading my seat to the front row. In the end, I decided to go with the seat upgrade, and I picked the window seat in the absolute front row of the plane with a shameful amount of legroom and an empty middle seat. I never get upgrades, so this felt like quite the luxury to me. Turns out the rest of the plane was completely full, so I was feeling pretty good about this decision. However, I still had some work to do on my laptop and was disappointed that because there were no seats in front, I could not keep my backpack in front of me, and I realized I had to go fight the mob of people still boarding for some overhead bin space before they all filled up. There was a very nice businessman sitting in the aisle seat in my row who stood up to help me. This is relevant later. The overhead bins filled very quickly, at which point the flight attendant at the plane door started announcing, "Overhead bins
Are almost full. Put your bags in the first one you see." To all the people still boarding the plane. Now here comes the last man to board the plane. He's probably about 6'3", and he runs in and kind of shoots the shit with
one of the flight attendants for a few minutes, and I'm not paying too much attention besides hoping he's not going to take the middle seat and the fact that he is talking very loudly, and he seems to be a bit drunk. For the rest of the story, I will call this man Dirk, because I don't know what the male version of Karen is. Nobody is in any rush to start getting ready for takeoff, and we soon know why. The pilot gets on the loudspeaker and says because of the weather in Boston, we need to wait here before we can take off. Now, Dirk has stopped talking to the flight attendant and starts to walk down the aisle, sees our empty middle seat and announces, "Cool, I'll take this first seat because it's empty." Throws his backpack down in the space in front of us and slams himself into the middle seat. Now, of course, I wouldn't have minded if someone had purchased the middle seat, but now I'm grumbling a bit internally thinking about how I spent my airline credit on this upgrade instead of booze, while this guy is going to get the nice seat for free, and nobody immediately came up to him and asked him to move his backpack. So I'm also frustrated that I had to go put mine away, and now his bag is in front of my feet. And finally, Dirk is being extremely loud and vocal. For example, when the pilot came on the loudspeaker again and said we would be waiting 45 minutes before takeoff, Dirk yelled out, "Man, this is some bullshit." Stuff like that over and over, so at this point I haven't said anything to him, but I'm sitting there probably looking like this. It's been about till to 5 minutes already. Not too long, but I'm starting to think they're just gonna let this fly. Then comes one of the flight attendants and walks up to this guy and says, "Sir, can I please see your boarding pass?" The man laughs a bit and says he just showed it at the gate, and the flight attendant repeats that he would like to see it. So the man starts rummaging through his backpack and hands the attendant some crumpled up paper and then goes back to his phone. The flight attendant uncrumples it and now starts to look annoyed and goes, "Sir, you just handed me a receipt. Try again." The man starts belly laughing like, "Oh, my bad," and then pulls his boarding pass from his pocket. Of course, he is in 32B, and the flight attendant asks him to go to his assigned seat. Now they start to fight, with Dirk saying, "But the guy said to take the first available seat. Nobody is sitting here anyway." And the attendant repeating that he didn't know how he heard that, but people need to pay to upgrade to these seats, and he needs to go to his assigned seat now. Things started to get heated, and Dirk is full-on screaming. Now saying, "Why did he say to take the first available seat then? Why was he lying?" The attendant is yelling back, "This isn't Southwest!" And the rest of the plane is silent and watching. Now at this point, I'm guessing Dirk misinterpreted the guy at the door, saying to throw your bags in the first available overhead bin. But I did not want to get involved and have this potentially drunk man next to me direct his anger at me. Edit. The flight attendant announcing this was being very clear about this being for bags as well. So I think Dirk was just making up excuses. At this point, there are 3 flight attendants in the aisle arguing with Dirk, who is still repeating the same thing about being lied to over and over. They're saying he needs to move or get kicked off the plane, and Dirk is replying that, of course, he would rather make it home to Boston tonight than get kicked off, but he needs an explanation first as to why they lied to him. In comes a boss of a lady who wasn't taking any of Dirk's shit to join the argument. She interrupts Dirk and says, look, you have two options. Take your assigned seat or get off the plane. I don't care what you think you heard. I don't know why we are still having this conversation. Then, when Dirk would open his mouth to continue arguing, the lady would hold up her hand and yell, like a mother silencing their toddler having a tantrum, and I am sitting there 6 inches away from the action, watching this all go down like this. Dirk sits there in silence for a few moments, mouth open, looking at this lady, and then stays sitting in the seat and looks back at his phone, and starts mumbling again in a low voice about being lied to. At this point, the 3 flight attendants walk away, and Dirk seems to think that he's won. But lo and behold, 1 minute later, security comes on the plane. Now seeing this, Dirk stands straight up and says, okay, I will go take my seat, and starts to walk down the aisle. But they stop him and remove him from the plane. And we didn't see him again. And me. And the nice man sitting in the aisle seat ended up getting free drinks for the rest of the flight for our troubles. Story 2. Someone who walked out on their bill called the restaurant the next day to ask for their server to be fired in lieu of paying their bill. My coworker, Sarah Asterisk, name changed, had a walkout last night. All walkouts suck, but this one was very different. The table that walked out included 3 20-something-year-olds, 2 guys and a girl. The girl happened to go to high school with my coworker who was serving them. The two spent a good portion of the night catching up, having a good time, and everything was going smoothly. After ordering $1.80 worth of food and drinks, the table walked out on their bill. Sarah was pissed. Since we scan and save IDs at my bar, we permanently flag anyone who has walked out on their tab and ban them from re-entry. Unless, of course, they come back to pay their tab and apologize for their lapse in judgment. The ID saving system is also linked with other bars in the city that use the same brand. So if someone were to be banned from our bar, all other participating bars would be notified and able to ban them as well. Sarah figured she'd message this girl on Facebook and let her know she should come back and pay her bill to save her from that major inconvenience, instead of telling her that she was a huge piece of shit. But my coworker kept it cordial. The girl never responded to my friend. The next day, however, the girl who walked out called the restaurant asking to speak to the manager. My manager, a seasoned vet who doesn't take shit from anyone, answered the phone. Every morning he reads over the log from the night before, so he knew of everything that went down, including the walkout. However, he wasn't aware that Sarah had messaged this girl on Facebook. The girl proceeded to log a complaint about a server who waited on her the previous night. Your server, Sarah, found me on social media and harassed me. It was really unprofessional, and I'm super creeped out by it. You shouldn't employ people who stalk their customers and send them threatening and offensive messages. My manager, somewhat shocked at first, was about to find out more information about this cyber harassment, but remembered that Sarah was the server with the walkout from the night before. I apologize if you felt uncomfortable by one of our server's actions, but harassment sounds unusual for Sarah. She's one of our best servers. What exactly did Sarah say in these messages? She said I needed to come in and pay my tab or she would ban me from every bar in the city and I'd never be able to eat out again. My manager paused. What do you think she meant by pay your tab? Well, we didn't pay for our tab. Completely blown away, my manager didn't know how to respond. So, I am going to need you to pay for your tab. And here's where this girl went from complete idiot to a complete idiot trying to be a delusional CB. Well, I am not paying for our tab now. No way! I'm not going to give money to a restaurant who employs people who harass customers. I'm honestly so scared and creeped out that I'm going to call the police. Actually, the only way I won't call the police is if you promise you're going to fire this server. So, you're not going to pay a tab that you walked out on? No. Are you even listening to me? You guys should be paying me for what I went through. You should be lucky that all I'm asking for is for this server to be fired, so I won't call the police. To buy some time to unpack the crazy my manager just heard, he told this chick that he'd talk it over with his supervisors and he would call her back. Sarah happened to be working that day, so he asked to see the Facebook messages. Sarah sent this girl exactly one message that said, "Hey, you walked out on your tab with me. You can come in and pay it tomorrow."
Just make sure you come in because the ID system will ban you from our place, and maybe some other bars if you don't pay. My manager called this psycho back. Ma'am, I just read the messages Sarah sent you on Facebook.
Sarah was trying to help you. We ban people from our bar who walk out on their tabs. So when would you like to pay for the $1.80 plus an added 20% gratuity? No. Sarah should have never messaged me in the first place. My social media profile is private. I want her fired. Well, that's not happening, and we'll be banning you and your friends if you don't pay for your bill. The girl was screaming at this point. I'm calling the police for harassment and piracy! You looked at my private messages. I'm not paying! My manager laughing in complete shock. Okay, go for it. Tell them we'd love to talk to them too. Enjoy your day.